Hello, good friends. Today I want to expand on a recent YouTube short I made on Psalm 27. I also made a longer video, but I want to focus on this one small piece that really talked about like feeling fear, but having faith, like coexisting together while you're trying to heal from trauma, specifically domestic violence is what I'm going to be referring to. Welcome to my little mobile office. For those of you that don't know, I'm a child protection social worker. So sometimes I sneak in videos and tidbits of content in between my families and my paperwork, which is what I'm doing today. Okay, so I really just want to focus on the concept that we can, two things can be true at once, right? We can have faith that God's walking with me through my healing, God's bringing the right people, resources, all the things into my life so that I can heal. But I am a human and I can feel fear. We know that God hasn't given us a spirit of fear. That's not his best for us to be living with constant fear, anxiety, frustration. But let's be honest, because I feel like sometimes I want to focus on women because I'm a woman and a survivor, and that's what I know. You can go and talk to, let's say, pastors, pastoral counseling, and what is the feedback we get a lot, whether you're still in an abusive relationship or you've left one. It's, have more faith. God hasn't given you a spirit of fear. Who shall you be afraid of if God is on your side, which is all true. We don't have to live in fear. But when you've left that mind-altering, life-shifting, shaking situation, you're afraid. You're afraid. Why? Because I have a human brain, I have a human body, and my flesh feels fear, my flesh processes fear, and then my body reacts to fear. That's why things like triggers, flashback, body memory, or nervous system needing to be regulated, all those good stuff, is because I have a humanness to me that is like consuming, because I'm in the human walking around a human world, the world. And so it's perfectly normal. I don't think we should, if you're being told like just stop being afraid, have more faith. Well, I can't just on a dime halt and be like, I'm stopping fear today. I'm not being afraid that my ex is going to stalk me for the next year. I'm not going to be afraid that my kids will be taken away from me possibly because of this situation. I have no fear that I could go to work one day and he'll show up and try and get me to this and that at work and cause a scene. Those are scary things. Those are realistic things. And I've lived some of those things. So I just want to validate, if you have left, even if you're still in it and you feel afraid, but you're wrestling with but I should have faith and God's on my side. It's normal. It's okay. And it's legit scary. It's hard to leave. Even if it wasn't a good situation, it's hard to leave and it's hard to recover without acknowledging I'm afraid, I'm frustrated, I'm overwhelmed. I'm all these scary and often negative feeling things, but I still am trying to trust God. And it's a process. It is a process. So just breathe. I often encourage in my videos, get a journal. We don't have to journal this moment, but if something resonates with you or you want to read Psalm 27 further or you just want to write down, hey, I need to work on that, have a pen and paper nearby or your phone. I'm only in my 30s, but I still am old school and I'm like pen and paper. So write down anything that resonates with your heart or you want to work on. So I'm just going to speak from my own experience. And I'm hoping it's validating and it's something that resonates with you, so you can just feel like somebody gets your situation and that you're not a weirdo for what you're going through. Okay. I'm just referring, I have Psalm 27 open here. So if you see me looking down, I'm just looking at that. So like I said, you are a human walking through this experience. Yes, we have a spirit. Now, a lot of what I focus on with women is, yep, you've been through the things. There's a lot of yuckiness, but what's the next step, right? In our healing journey, we acknowledge that we have fear. We have anxiety. Most of us have mental health concerns or issues that we're working through that is connected to all this fear and anxiety. We have a lot of stuff going on. Healing from abuse is not easy. and it's not fun, and it's just not ideal. And I'm sure you never thought you would be in this situation. So let's talk about maybe I'll tell you some examples of times I was afraid in the first 1 to 2 years after I left. One of the biggest things that came up for me was some of the stalking and what contact would or wouldn't look like after I left. Now, I did not have children with him, so luckily I didn't have to do co-parenting and all the things, but I basically went mostly like kind of like no contact, cold turkey for the most part, except maybe, excuse me, the first like 6 months, there had to be some contact with going through lawyer stuff. And then I had to go back to the house and get my things. But I was afraid because I started to see him, like my friend that I was living with would report, hey, I saw his truck drive by just randomly this afternoon while you were at work. Okay, that creates some fear in me. Why are you driving by? Or there was a time where, yeah, I didn't get all my stuff from the house. So he came and he just dumped it all on the porch. And he waited there until after I got off work, rolled down his window. I don't know what he yelled at me, but I was like, thank you for dropping off my things. You can leave now, but you didn't have to wait for me to get home from work just to yell whatever you yelled at me. It was scary, mostly scary because it took a good 4 years for him to completely leave me alone. Now, I did talk to one of the cops here where I'm from and just said, hey, like, do I need to do anything about this? They told me, continue to document if you want to. I didn't put any restraining no contact orders in place. I didn't feel that was a direction that I needed to go with at the time. So he never did anything really harmful. It was just the upsetting underlying anxiety of fear of sometimes you drive by and I don't know, or you creepily roll down your window as I'm walking up to my home. Like some of those stuff, or sending me random emails or whatever. I don't need updates on your life. And just, you know, even going to like the store, the grocery store, or certain places that was near where he lived or I lived or where we used to live, and just wondering, is he going to be here today? It probably took a good, I don't even know, maybe a year or two for me to stop wondering, is he going to be there? Is he going to be there? And I know that's a really, really big fear for a lot of women, because I've been in this world of helping women after DV for about like 13-ish more years now, and that comes up a lot. I'm afraid for me and my kids to go to the park we usually go to. I'm afraid to go to the grocery store. What if he shows up? What if he harasses me while I'm putting groceries in my car? If that is happening, please document. If you feel like you need a restraining or no contact order, whatever it's called in the area you're from, go ahead and do it. But I would say minimally document, and if you can maybe talk to a social worker or somebody to help you through it, do so. Okay. Another scary situation for me was going back to the house and getting my things. I hired a mediator to kind of mediate this situation, not only gathering my belongings, but just this whole process. The mediator met us at the house. I had a friend go with me. He had a friend there just for like some witnesses and stuff. Yes, he did harass me verbally the whole time I was packing my things, but that's better than him restraining me, blocking doorways like he used to. But emotionally, that was very scary. So if you have to go back and see him, or you have to co-parent, that is scary. That is emotionally triggering. If you have to do some of these things, please don't do them alone. Or like I said, minimally document, on this date, I went here to do this at this time, or phone somebody. Say, I'm going here. If you don't hear back from me in an hour, phone me, or send someone to come check in or something, because you never know what couldn't happen while you're just working through some of these muddy things of like separation and just moving your life away from this person as much as you can. Another thing that was scary, one of my biggest fears was, am I going to end up in another abusive situation with another abusive person? This is a whole another video on itself, but in a nutshell, big fear. I had conviction and peace that leaving this marriage was okayed by God, if you will. I knew that this was right for me. However, I was still deadly afraid of changing my whole life. It was a series of changing where I live. I lost my animals. You lose money, you lose a lot of things, and you're restarting restarting, renewing, rebuilding, those things are downright scary. They can be downright terrifying. Especially one of the lies he always told me was, no one's going to love you but me. And the reason I believe that goes to like childhood wounds, that goes to self-esteem stuff at that time. Okay, so it's normal to be afraid that you would end up in another abusive situation, because honestly, a lot of women do. I did. I'm not gonna sit here and be ashamed to say no, I didn't. I did. My next boyfriend after that was like a con artist and abusive. Luckily, I eventually walked away from that situation. God was looking out for me. But I did, and that was a big fear, and that fear came true, unfortunately. But I learned from that again. It kicked me in the butt to say, Allie, some of these things are not in place. Some of the mindset renewal is not there. Work on elements of your heart. You need better boundaries. You need to work on your people pleasing, because you're attracting and getting into crappy situations with crappy people. So that was another one. I'd say lastly, another big one was I had some doubt, but I was also kind of terrified that like I just wouldn't recover. I remember just having problems sleeping, just feeling so displaced in my own skin and in the world, because my world has just turned upside down, almost quickly but slowly at the same time. If that can resonate with you, like it just made no sense. The world didn't make sense to me because of that. Some of that reason is because of those trauma bonds that is created when we're with an abusive person. A lot of the lies that I believed were true just got shattered, but they almost came blowing back in my face to be like, this is all your fault. If you woulda, coulda, shoulda, all the things. I remember struggling with my mental health. Like I still to this day, mental health up and down sometimes. Flashback, PTSD, all the things. And I was like, how the heck do I live the life I want to live dealing with all this stuff? I wanted to go back to being the old happy Allie even before meeting him and all this stuff. Yeah, at the same time not, because there's obviously some not so good stuff going on there too. But I kind of thought, how do you do this? How do you start? Because I believe healing is holistic. You have mind, your body, spirit. I believe in faith-based healing. And the reason I will really, really emphasize that you need to work on the spirit, your spirit when it comes to healing, is because, like I said, I've worked like in the field of CPS, child protection, for a good 13 years minimum now. And so that's like not a faith-based organization. The government is not a faith-based organization. And we are taught and told to push, you help create goals with families. You work really on like health, mental health, body health. Yeah, family, social health, which is, you have to, you totally do. But we don't, the government, CPS does not understand fully that if your spirit is not being worked on, is not working towards health and wholeness, I'm sorry, but I do not believe full healing comes if you don't involve God in your healing. I don't. And so with that being said, unfortunately, I think that we do decent work with families, but the wholeness of healing does not happen. And that's a whole nother video for a whole nother time if you're ever interested in my experiences with CPS and helping families and domestic violence. But I want to highlight this portion of Psalm 27. I'm going to skip to, like, I spent time just really acknowledging, sorry guys, the air is dry here, that it's okay to be afraid. It's okay to know that you have a court date coming up and you could possibly lose custody of your kids and you're downright terrified. That is scary. We don't want to take away these scary things. You have a right to be afraid. You're not going to suppress and be like, oh, I'm not afraid. Everything, like, God is on your side. But your humanness is saying this is scary, okay? So let's remember, even though we feel all these things, even though we acknowledge that our humanness is roaring like a lion and it's scary, we have the Bible, we have a relationship with Jesus to help us walk through this valley, to help us walk through the fire, so to speak. We can feel the fear, but our relationship with God and our mind can say, hey, I'm going to wait a minute. I acknowledge I'm afraid and my body may be trembling. However, I can remind myself, because I'm working on renewing my mind, because I'm working on rewiring my mindsets and my beliefs. That's what I'm working on. That's what God calls us to do, to be transformed, right? To be transformed by the renewing of our mind. So let's look at Psalm 27, verse 5. Actually, I'm going to read verse 1 real quick here, because verse 1 says, the Lord is my light and my salvation. Whom shall I fear? We're acknowledging that fear is there. Just wanted to point that out. The Bible doesn't say there will be no fear. There is fear there. However, let's go to verse 5. For in the day of trouble, he will hide me in his shelter. Visualize this, guys. He will hide me in the shelter. In the secret place of his tent, he will hide me. He will lift me up on a rock. Now, I'm just such a visual person. You know what I visualize, especially when it says in the secret place of his tent, is, you know, when you're a kid and you built a little fort with either with your bunk bed or with a table and chairs or on the couch or whatever you had going on there. I just see that. Like, hey, God, can we just hang out in my little fort for a while that we've built together? Because I'm feeling yucky and I'm scared. I'm scared that tomorrow I have to go apply for a no contact order, and that's yucky and I'm afraid. Can we just sit here in this tent and meditate on your word and your character and your promises for me? Promises that you won't abandon me, promises that you are for me, promises that you have my good, like my best interest and my good at heart. Those promises are constantly there. They're not shifting. They're not changing. They don't go away. Let me sit in my fort and meditate on that. Even if it just gives me 5 minutes of the anxiety dissipates, even if it's just 5 minutes. So that's something that you can remember when you're feeling anxious and afraid. When, not if, when you're feeling anxious and afraid, is dwell, that you have the ability, that God invites us. One thing I have asked of the Lord and that I will seek, that I may dwell in the house of the Lord in his presence all the days of my life. That we can dwell with him. Now, what does dwelling mean? I know I mentioned this in my previous video, but we're gonna maybe pick apart and brainstorm again, because sometimes I don't like when, in church we use these big words and I'm like, what does that mean? So for me, what helped me, like inviting Jesus into my healing and dwelling with him, is, like I just said, even finding a space, whether that's outside on a walk, if you have a greenhouse, jealous by the way, or like a garden or something, or somewhere where you feel like the authentic you, and you can just sit there, talk to God, pray, rant at him, rave at him, cry with him. The Psalms are full of crying with God. And just tell him, I'm scared, I'm mad, I'm afraid, I'm trembling right now. Where are you? Ask him, Jesus, where are you right now? Just like show me a picture in my mind, or like tell me, let the Holy Spirit speak to you. God, tell me, where are you right now? I just want reassurance that you are here. Where are you? I've asked, journaled such questions to God, asked him out loud, and just sat and waited, dwelling in his presence. Where are you right now? Sometimes he'll tell me, I'm like literally sitting here on the bed with you right now. He's usually been like always physically in my mind very close. Try it. I know if you haven't, or you don't have such a relationship with God, or you're kind of scared to ask him maybe those human-y questions, just, he knows we're human, so he's gonna interact with us in a way that makes sense to our human mind. Ask him something like that. Or like, God, when I have to go to the courtroom tomorrow, where are you gonna be? Maybe he'll tell you, I'm gonna be holding your hand the whole time. What is that going to do to your heart? That's just going to calm your heart. Doesn't mean the fear is just going to dissipate forever. But in those moments, if your heart is pumping and you're like, I'm going to lose it emotionally right now, I'm holding your hand. I'm holding your hand. What does that bring up for you right now when I say that? In your heart, what does that bring up for you? If you just stop and pause and simply, when you're going through a scary moment, when you're feeling the big emotions, Jesus, where are you? Does that feel weird? Does that make you angry? Does that make you happy? Hopeful? Do you feel like a weirdo because you're talking to Jesus that way? My friends, I just encourage you to figure out, what does dwelling mean? Okay, so we said prayer, talking with God, sitting in his presence. Again, journaling prayers, journaling concerns, reflecting on what's going on for you. I remember one time I was actually having a panic or anxiety attack, and I journaled the experience. Right now, this is maybe that's weird. I don't even know how I managed to actually write out. It was 0.4 obviously, but I managed to write out, I'm experiencing this, I'm thinking this. I just wanted to get it out. I'm not saying you have to do that, but I'm just saying certain things work better for different people. I'm a writer, so try journaling. If you're interested in learning more about journaling, I have some free journal pages in the description. I can send your way. I can just help you practice and get that in motion in your life. Dwelling can also mean praise and worship. Turn on some worship music. Sing the words, reflect on the words. The prayers that come from your heart. That's dwelling. Anything to do with inviting him into your life in that moment or season that you're dealing with, I think is part of dwelling with him. If you don't want to write, journal, talk on your phone. Some of us are more auditory than writing or visual. So anyway, I hope that gives you some good ideas. Like I said, I just wanted to validate today that you can have a person of faith. You can be a good Christian, but still feel fear. Okay? I hope today blessed you and that you feel a little bit more connected to yourself, to God, to me, if you will, just somebody on the internet that really cares about your healing. Okay, I will, like I said, put those links in the description below. You can feel free to connect if you want more help and support on learning, hey, what do I do on this healing journey? On learning how to renew your mindset, on learning to rewire your programming. Abuse messed up your programming. Let's learn to rewire that together. And learning how to, what I call live lionhearted. To live lionhearted, to live with courage, with faith, despite what you feel, despite the fear roaring inside you. Learning just to live with a lion heart. And just remember, even with all this fear swirling around, I'm going to read Psalm 27:14. I'm going to leave you with this. Wait for and confidently expect the Lord. Be strong, be lion-hearted, and let your heart take courage. Yes, wait for and confidently expect the Lord. Expect God to move in your life. Expect God to walk alongside you in your healing. Invite him in. Okay, guys, take care. Continue to live lion-hearted. Let's do it together. We'll talk next time. Bye-bye.